Most foreigners who move to the Philippines are chasing a dream: warm weather, cheap living, friendly people. For many, it starts out great. They rent a beachfront apartment, have a young and loving partner, maybe even make a few local friends. Life feels like a permanent vacation. But what no one talks about is what happens when that dream is interrupted by something unavoidable, like illness. Many expats move here without long-term plans for healthcare, family support, or even basic backup. Why? Because they never thought they'd need it until the moment they do. When John moved to the Philippines at 62, he thought he had found paradise. Sunsets on the beach, warm, friendly smiles, a cost of living that finally gave him peace after decades of work. But what he didn't know was that paradise can turn into a prison when you get sick. John was alone but free. No kids, no wife, just freedom. Or so he thought. But one night, John felt a crushing pain in his chest and collapsed. He had suffered a mild stroke. Suddenly, the man who once roamed freely on his motorbike could barely move his left arm. He couldn't speak clearly. He was trapped in his own body. No family around. No expat community nearby. No emergency plan. No one knew for hours. Who do you call when there's no one to call? No family. No neighbors close enough to notice. No emergency button. Just a foreigner stuck in his room in pain. John was rushed to a local public hospital. It was overcrowded, underfunded, and lacked basic resources. He was put in a hallway bed for 36 hours before being seen by a specialist. There was no private nurse, no case manager. Worse, John didn't have international insurance. His Medicare didn't work here. This is the moment where many foreigners realize, I'm completely alone. John's bank account in the US was hard to access from the hospital bed. They started treating him slowly, but everything was pay-as-you-go. Tests, medications, oxygen. It all cost money, and it added up fast. John stayed in a public hospital for 2 weeks. He was discharged still needing help he didn't have. No home care services. No rehab center. No one to help him bathe, eat, or manage medication. Eventually, a neighbor contacted a small group of local expats, and one of them agreed to check in on John once a week. But he was mostly confined to his bed, dehydrated, confused, and deteriorating fast. This is the dark side of paradise. No support system. No community. No medical infrastructure for foreigners who get seriously ill. John spent weeks alone, living on crackers and water. He had to crawl to the bathroom, bathe with buckets. He developed bed sores, infections. He tried calling expat forums. Some helped a little. One guy dropped off groceries once, but no one came back. John's modest pension barely covered his rent and food before his stroke. After paying for hospital bills and basic medication, his savings was left with next to nothing. John eventually recovered, slowly. He was lucky. Most aren't. But the damage was done, not just to his health, but his spirit. He realized something powerful. You must have a plan, a caregiver, emergency cash, local support. He almost didn't make it. A culture that can't support elderly foreigners. In the Philippines, the concept of elder care is very different. Families look after their own. There are very few nursing homes, and they're often expensive or poorly equipped. If you're not part of a Filipino family or community, there's no built-in safety net. John was a foreigner, alone, with no legal dependents. There was no government assistance, no home visits, no help. Even private clinics and caregivers are geared toward wealthier locals or medical tourists, not broke foreigners living off Social Security. Who will help you? This is the core of the crisis. When you get sick, who's going to help? The answer for most expats is no one. Not unless you've built strong local relationships or have money to burn. Some lucky ones have kind-hearted neighbors. Others have a Filipino partner who genuinely loves them. But for many, once you're not the provider anymore, your presence is more of a burden than a blessing. John's experience is not unique. In online forums, you'll find hundreds of stories like his: men who were fine when they were strong and generous, but invisible the moment they became weak. The emotional toll of isolation. Being physically sick is one thing. Being emotionally abandoned is another. John spent months alone, crying himself to sleep. Not because of the pain, but because of the silence. No phone calls. No one to talk to. Just the sound of rain on a rusty roof and the occasional rooster. He didn't miss America. He missed being seen, being valued, being human. The expat fantasy had become a prison, and he was the only inmate. Building a support system before it's too late. After surviving the worst of the illness, John realized something. He needed to build a system, not just hope someone would save him. He joined more expat groups and introduced himself. He told them what happened. Some criticized him. Others offered help. John learned how to set up an emergency health fund using Gcash and Wise. Find a local caregiver service. Private nurse networks do exist, but you need to know where to look. Use Grab for medicine deliveries and food in emergencies. Install a backup generator and water jugs for essential utilities. Create a printed emergency contact sheet in English and Tagalog to tape on his wall. I didn't move here to die alone, John said. I moved here for peace. But peace only comes if you prepare for the storm. The realities of healthcare in the Philippines. John learned firsthand that public hospitals are often overcrowded, underfunded, and ill-equipped for serious expat medical cases. Private hospitals are much better, but expensive. What shocked him more? No universal elderly home care system. Many local families care for their elders at home, but expats don't have family here. Some caregivers require long-term contracts or upfront cash. John said, "It's not that the Philippines doesn't care about the elderly, it's that the system assumes you have family. If you don't, you're invisible." Financial reality check when the money runs out. John's bank account was down to $900. His pension check wouldn't arrive for 3 more weeks. The question haunted him, what happens if I can't pay rent or buy food? He found temporary relief through a charitable expat-run foundation helping retirees in crisis. A loan from a fellow expat in exchange for future assistance. Selling and used items on Facebook Marketplace. Contacting his embassy, not for money, but for possible repatriation if needed. John's advice to every future expat. Don't just ask, "Can I afford to move to the Philippines?" Ask, "Can I afford to get sick here?" What other expats can learn from John's story? John's story isn't just about survival. It's a wake-up call. What every expat should do before it's too late. Build a local network. Find 2 to 3 trusted locals or expats you can rely on in an emergency. Create a health emergency plan. Include nearby hospitals, transport options, medication lists, and emergency contacts. Have a backup fund. At least $1,500 to $2,000 liquid in a local bank. Get basic health insurance. Even if it's expensive, it might save your life. Install a panic button app on your phone that sends alerts to neighbors or emergency responders. Plan for old age. Will you hire a caregiver? Move to assisted living? Go back home? Think now, not when you're bedridden. I chose to live, not just survive. John is still in the Philippines. He still walks with a limp. He still has nerve pain. But he's alive and stronger than ever. My health failed me, but I didn't give up. I fought back, and I made this place my home on my own terms. He's now helping other expats prepare. He speaks at expat meetups and shares his story online. He has nothing fancy, no house by the beach or luxury condo, but he has peace. And that, to him, is enough. John's story is not just about one man's struggle. It's a mirror held up to every expat living far from home. It's a warning, but also a lesson. Being alone in a foreign land when your body fails you, no family, no help, no safety net, isn't just difficult, it can be fatal. But John found strength. He adapted. He prepared. He reached out, he built connections, and he planned ahead. His story can be your guide, not just to survive, but to live with dignity. So ask yourself, if you got sick tomorrow, would you be okay? Who would help you? What would happen if your money ran out? If you're thinking about retiring abroad, this is your reality check. Being sick and alone in a foreign country is terrifying. But with the right planning, support, and mindset, you can make it. Don't wait for disaster. Don't rely on love alone. Prepare. Because your life overseas won't just be about paradise, it will be about survival. If this video opened your eyes, please don't leave without doing something about it. Share this with someone who's living abroad. You might save a life. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because on this channel we talk about the hard truths no one else does. Leave a comment below. What would you do if you got sick abroad? Let's talk about it. Let's build a support system together. We're all we've got.